Scientific proof that's backing up that spiritual enlightenment comes from our pineal gland, known as the third eye, and depicted as ancients as the seat of the soul.
This is our head, and somewhere in there you have the brain, and then you have here the pituitary, and somewhere here you have the pineal gland. They tell us that this pineal gland is formed like an eye, like an atrophied eye, that it was an eye sometime. And they have actually found some lizards where this area up there is nearly transparent. But if it was really an atrophied eye, then why hide it under the brain?
The pineal gland, it's located in the middle down here, and it correlates to what we call the third eye. You can't see the third eye, but it's what we call the sixth sense. That means that it's seeing beyond what the five senses see. This is a secret that they've known in ancient Egypt. They know it in the Vatican. Everywhere you go in the Vatican, you see this.
From Indian scriptures to Western traditions, many sages and saints have talked about this doorway to the ultimate blissfulness. Many skeptics among us would feel this to be ancient jargon, but studies show that the pineal gland acts like a third eye.
You remember that image of like a Buddha with the halo? There's always a halo around the Buddha's head, or Jesus. People say there's a cross behind him in that halo, but it's the beams of light. It's exactly what you can learn or remember to activate.
The pineal gland is lined on the inside with tissue called pinealocytes. These pinealocytes are similar to the rods and cones in the retina of your eye. That's right, it's the third eye.
Higher rates of depression, anxiety, lack of focus, a constant state of sadness, and detachment from the world are conditions that many of us face today. But like many things, our own body holds the solution for these problems. The negative emotions that we all feel are the result of chemical and hormonal imbalances in our brains. And one small organ located right in the center of our brain's two hemispheres holds the key to release our infinite potential to better ourselves. That small pea-sized organ is called the pineal gland. Scientifically, this secretory circumventricular organ is responsible to produce melatonin, a hormone that modulates our sleep pattern.
Melatonin, as you know, it's an antioxidant, it's a healthy thing for the body, and the reason is why sometimes we lack it in our body is because we have turned this artificial lighting everywhere. But if this was the main reason for this, then the logical place for it would be somewhere out there. If it's an organ that senses light, the logical place for it would be somewhere where it can get the light. I mean, the eyes can sense the light and send the information to the brain. Why have something that looks like an eye that gets information from outside, but at the same time is pointing downwards, under the brain?
The scientific community has now established that just like our physical eyes, the pineal gland has crystal-like photoreceptors on them that absorb light and react to it. That is why tuning your sleep cycle with a natural sun pattern and staying away from bright lights after sundown elevates your mood and leads you to better overall health.
I want to show you what happens when you sleep. The important times to sleep and why. There's a little tiny gland in the base of the brain, and it's called the pineal gland. And it's right in the base of your brain. The pineal gland releases 4 hormones every night, but only in certain hours. In the winter time, it's between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. Light and dark signals are fed through the optic nerve to a control center in the brain where your body clock is located. And your body clock communicates with the pineal gland. And these are the hormones that are released. One is melatonin. A lot of people have heard of melatonin. Some people that don't sleep very well take melatonin. Well, we naturally release melatonin in that time, and it's called the fix and rejuvenate nighttime hormone. So it is this hormone that probably is mostly responsible for the fix and rejuvenation that's happening in our brain and our body while we sleep. Another hormone is serotonin. That's the mood hormone. So if you want to feel good, go to bed early. Another hormone that's released in these hours from the pineal gland is arginine vasotocin. Arginine vasotocin is our natural painkiller. Did you know you have a natural painkiller? When you go to bed in these hours, your natural painkiller is released. But your natural painkiller, when it's used, it leaves a waste. And if that waste hasn't been released, then the next night, arginine vasotocin won't be released. How do we get rid of the waste from using our arginine vasotocin? That's exercise. When you exercise in the day, as you perspire, you are letting go of the waste. And that's why exercise is so important to be able to increase your ability to sleep. The other hormone that's released is epithalamin. And epithalamin is a hormone that increases learning capacity. God designed our brain to be learning new things right up until the day we die. Many people's brains deteriorate because they stop learning new things. We should ever learn new things. To be able to understand and retain the new things that you're learning, we need to go to bed early. Epithalamin increases learning capacity, and epithalamin slows down aging. So these are the hormones that are released in these hours every night.
So now that we know that melatonin regulates our sleep cycles and taking care of our photosensitive pineal gland will result in better health conditions, is that all our third eye is capable of? The answer is no. The pineal gland holds much more power than just regulating our sleep. And ancient cultures were always aware of what our modern science is beginning to understand. Modern science has now established that the calcite structures on the pineal gland contain piezoelectric properties. This, in simple terms, means when pressure is applied to these structures, they produce an electrical charge.
If you have a little lighter and you hit the lighter and then you get that little spark that comes out, that's from a crystal being compressed.
This property makes it an antenna of sorts for our brain to receive signals and adapt energy. Another property of these crystals is to act like a transducer, which means they can convert the energy received into another form. In its regular work form, the pineal gland receives the energies from our senses and transfers them into signals to our brain, guiding it to react accordingly. But once activated properly, it holds the power to connect with the energies of the universe around us. It can become the gateway between the earthly and the divine. The piezoelectric effect works with the tiny crystals surrounding the pineal gland's surface through the push of energy.
Piezochromism. Piezochromatic crystals are crystals that can release any color of light in the rainbow.
In yogic practices, this effect is achieved through breathing and focus exercises that release the cerebrospinal fluid, which is pushed against your pineal gland, the seventh chakra, and the third eye, which results in the release of an electrical charge. This release of charge expands the calcite crystals around the pineal gland to their limit and then brings them back to their original size. This continuous cycle results in a constant electromagnetic field within our brains. This release and contraction of the electromagnetic field creates a pulsating effect within our mind and body, bringing us one step closer to unleashing our energies.
And what this is basically pointing to is that you've got a masculine principle, you've got a feminine principle. The pituitary gland is right at the optic chiasm. And then you've got the pineal gland, which is like a human anatomy, but the masculine form of it. The pituitary is actually shaped like the feminine form of anatomy. And there is a breathing exercise that you can actually do to raise those to the same plane. It's part and parcel. You probably heard about this cecum, or it's also referred to as the Christos, coming up the spine to light up the chakras. When you do this process, it's all an alchemical process. What you then will start to realize is that you create a marriage between this masculine, feminine aspects in the brain. And this is the birth of the spiritual aspect of the self. That's why it's also called the womb, not only the cave of Brahman, but it's shaped just like a womb. If you look at a view of it as a photograph, the thalamus is shaped just like the womb is shaped. And inside that, there's a little walnut-shaped thing that's right at the top, coming right up the Sushumna, right? So you've got the Ida Pingala, the masculine form, the feminine form, these two snakes creating the staff of Hermes. And right at the top of that is this thalamus. And this thalamus becomes a new entry doorway for the initiate to then be able to experience Shambhala. You'll find this across many, many different esoteric teachings. This is a process that becomes a true second birth or a spiritual birth, following your resurrection. And it's all following Joseph Campbell's hero's journey as well. Each of us have a hero's journey in this matrix of mind. And that's why I do believe that it's all literally planned out because of cause and effect. We are experiencing a retrocausality in time on both directions. The future determines the past as much as the past determines the future. We've all seen this, right? We all experience things that are bad or horrific sometimes, and we can't have the opportunity to see the wider perspective that maybe this is a good thing that's happening. We think it's a bad thing. But with the perspective of time, sometimes the polarity of that experience shifts to the positive. What we refer to as free will, or what we refer to rather as destiny, let's start from the destiny standpoint, maybe is just the free will of the higher self. We're applying the context of a linear perspective of time when all dimensions of time exist simultaneously. There's just a study and a new scientific theory that just came out that basically said, okay, we now believe that all dimensions of time exist simultaneously. And it's kind of funny because academia is now becoming the last to know everything. A lot of the context that we have in a scientific sense is just sort of the confirmation at the end where the reductionist says, yes, that's what it is. And I think that's one of the things that unfortunately is still kind of upside down in society to a certain extent. We don't recognize that science and spirituality are not juxtaposed. And I delineate between religion and spirituality. To me, religion has the tendency to be more about teaching and purveying judgment, and whereas spirituality is kind of the opposite of that. It's about looking within without judging the outside and learning to no longer judge yourself internally. And through that process, you can now take on empathy for everybody else. And that actually starts to ease your suffering. You want to change your world? Start by changing your perspective on the world. Start to try to see a different way of seeing it than you've seen it before. Because seeing it the same way over and over again and you're not happy, some might call it delusional. I don't. I actually call it ascended. If you can start to see the world in the context that you would like to see the world, then the world will start to reflect more of that back to you. It's a mathematical equation. And us understanding or not understanding dark matter, dark energy, to me is just a larger metaphor for us starting to now understand our shadow collectively. It's all mind. When we look at it from that context, everything shifts. Everything shifts. You look at Jesus. Okay, Jesus, what did he do? He just told everybody, judge not, lest you judge yourself. Love God with all your heart, might, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's really all he taught. You got the Beatitudes, a few other things, the meek shall inherit the world. But man, did he ever get attacked? He got attacked. So it's not about seeing things. I used to say that we see things from our own vantage point. Now I change that to say we see things from our own advantage point. This is our perspective. The thing that I think is going to benefit me is how I'm going to see whatever it is that I see. And until I can break away from that, I can never see the dark demon with the teeth that I am. And as soon as we start to see that, then the power that demon has over you diminishes dramatically. Because the more you try to repress it and say, no, it doesn't exist, it will just come out, eat you asshole first, every time. And you won't even know until it's already consumed a good portion of you. And then you're like, how did this happen? I'm finding myself in the same situation again. I'm experiencing the same pattern over and over again. It's about looking at yourself and going within and saying, who am I? Who am I in my full spectrum? And then being able to be at one with that, or atone to that way of thinking. You can raise your vibration. You can get to these higher gamma states. You can get beyond beta, right? Beta is between 12 and say 30 hertz in that range. But then when you get up to kind of the 100 hertz range, then you're looking at gamma brainwave states. And that's where you get this bliss. It's like this total bliss feeling. You're then going into another dimensional frame. And very likely, as you go higher and higher, because the angelic being, right, is really the same thing, just in a different vibrational state from what you and I are. If you want to see joy, then be the joy. If you want to see love, then be the love. And to me, enlightenment is when you can cross the street and someone can hurl all kinds of terrible insults at you, and you're unfazed. You're completely unfazed. You're not anxious about the future. You're not anxious about the past. You are in this place of Zen, which is like, nothing is going to faze me. I'm determining my experience with my surroundings, not the other way around. And that requires, first of all, the conscious decision that you know that your vibration impacts the experience in the world around you. And you can raise that no matter what that experience and world around you is. And if you don't, then you'll just continue to feed into that same loop cycle. The only real obstacles we face in this world are the ones we truly believe in. If you think you can or you think you can't, you'll be right. That's the Henry Ford famous quote.
We live in a society bombarded by circuses and shows, enticing us with promises of instant gratification and superficial pleasures. These external distractions divert our attention from the path of spiritual growth, trapping us in a cycle of fleeting satisfaction. It's time to recognize these illusory traps and reclaim our focus. To embark on the path of spiritual growth, we must confront the allure of external illusions. It requires a courageous leap of faith to detach from societal influences and redirect our energy toward inner clarity. By peeling back the layers of deception, we liberate ourselves from the shackles of illusion and open the door to genuine transformation. Amidst the turmoil of external distractions, cultivating inner clarity becomes important. It is through introspection, awareness, and self-reflection that we get a deeper understanding of ourselves and our actual desires. We can make room for personal development and realign with our true purpose by reducing external noise. A significant change happens within us as we let go of cultural expectations and embrace personal development. We understand that true fulfillment results from taking care of our bodies, brains, and souls. By investing in our spiritual well-being, we uncover our innate wisdom, unlock hidden potential, and cultivate a deep sense of purpose. Take a moment to detach from the external circus, cultivate inner clarity, and embrace personal development. Only then can you truly experience the joy of authentic transformation. In the pursuit of spiritual growth, there exists a vital element that can either ignite the flame of awakening or cast a shadow over our journey. Substance abuse, like a veil of darkness, clouds our path and stifles the activation of the pineal gland. To awaken the third eye and unlock its infinite potential, sobriety becomes an essential companion on our journey. It is through a clear mind and a nourished body that we can delve into the depths of our consciousness and establish a profound connection with the divine. Mindfulness and self-discipline become our steadfast companions, guiding us toward clarity and higher states of awareness. By cultivating a focused mind and disciplined lifestyle, we create the ideal environment for the activation of our pineal glands.
This whole thing about the pineal gland or the third eye is to show us that there's a law of surrender. I can't get to that space of the sixth sense if I don't surrender what I think I know, because that keeps me in a space that doesn't allow me to know anything else. But if I want to really know the truth, I have to be mindless. And I have to be open to receive. And in that receiving space, I'm not looking at something the way I usually look at. I'm not looking at you through my five senses. I'm looking at you to know that you're part of me.
Activating the pineal gland necessitates self-exploration, spiritual practices, and an open mind. Through meditation, breathwork, and inner stillness, we create a sanctuary for the pineal gland to awaken. Within this sacred awakening, we tap into the innate wisdom, expand consciousness, and embark on a journey through higher states of awareness.
With each generation surpassing its predecessor in technological advancement, with our homes getting more comfortable, our cars becoming faster, our devices becoming efficient, and our world becoming virtual, we, in this world of external abundance, are forgetting about the wealth within. We are connected to the world virtually, relying on artificial signals, yet losing the connection with our own self. With modern medicine synthesizing drugs for our each and every problem, which further enables our dependence on drugs with massive side effects, we have stopped searching for the drugs within. But if we are provided with the opportunity and knowledge to lead our small, pea-sized third eye to envision a state of mind that lets us connect to the colors we have never seen, the feelings we have never felt, and imagery we have never discovered, shouldn't we allow ourselves to go to that place? don't we owe it to our true self to be released along with the higher state of our mind, which is connected to the frequencies of our world that will transcend us into a blissful, awakened, self-aware state? Now is the time to see the world with a new eye, with a new third eye. Thanks for watching. And if you get value out of this video in any way, hit that like button for me. Share it with a friend, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Otherwise, keep an eye on it. Stay blessed.